LeBron James holds an incredible record in NBA history, the longest streak of consecutive games scoring in double figures. By a significant margin, he surpassed everyone else, including Michael Jordan, who is second on the list. That streak began long ago, and the last time LeBron failed to score at least 10 points in a regular season game was on January 5, 2007, in a matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. On that night, he scored just 8 points, but his team still secured the win. It was an unremarkable performance at the time. Yet looking back, that night now stands out because it marks the final instance in which LeBron didn't reach double digits in a regular season game. Fast forward more than 11 years and 867 games later, and suddenly this streak is everywhere. Headlines, social media posts, and sports discussions have elevated it to near-mythical status. The narrative is simple. LeBron has surpassed Michael Jordan, who is widely regarded as the greatest player of all time, in one of basketball's most consistent performance metrics. But if we take a step back, the way this record is presented raises questions. For starters, it's what statisticians and fans would call a cherry-pick stat. It's true that LeBron's streak is extraordinary, but it only counts regular season games. Playoffs, where the competition is often more intense and every possession carries more weight, are completely excluded from the calculation. Consider the context of the streak itself. On January 5, 2007, LeBron scored 8 points against Milwaukee. To him, that was just another game. He had already achieved so much by that point in his career. Multiple championship rings, NBA Finals appearances, MVP awards, and gold medals on the international stage. One low-scoring game in a regular season was trivial compared to his accomplishments. In interviews, he's mentioned similar moments where individual point totals didn't matter as much as team success or trust in his teammates. For example, in one game against Indiana, he went 2-for-10 and scored 6 points. Afterward, he was praised not for the point total, but for how he led the team, managed the game, and inspired confidence in those around him. Later in that same stretch, he could drop 51 or 45 points in a game, showing just how variable single-game scoring can be, even for the best players in the world. Yet, despite LeBron's own perspective, fans and media outlets have amplified the streak to extraordinary proportions. Every clean-looking number, every milestone, feeds into the narrative of him as a statistical and historical icon. Social media graphics and highlight reels make it appear as though this streak encompasses every game he has ever played, start to finish, without exception. But that's misleading. Postseason games are not included, and the nuance of context is almost entirely absent from these portrayals. The result is a slick, simplified version of the truth that emphasizes one aspect of LeBron's greatness while ignoring others. The omission isn't accidental. It's a calculated choice that makes the record appear more monumental. When you adjust the scope to include every competitive NBA game, regular season, and playoff combined, the story changes. Under that lens, Michael Jordan holds the edge. Jordan's consistency in scoring at least 10 points extended across 41 consecutive seasons worth of games, from 1986 through 2001. Every single game counted, including playoff contests, making it a more holistic measure of sustained excellence. While LeBron's streak is unmatched in the regular season alone, the real all-game standard still belongs to Jordan. This comparison highlights the importance of framing statistics carefully. Numbers themselves don't lie, but the context in which they are presented can drastically alter perception. The fascination with streaks like this stems partly from human nature. People love records. They are neat, quantifiable achievements that can be easily communicated and compared. Fans, analysts, and social media users are drawn to clean narratives. LeBron has the longest streak of double-digit games, therefore is statistically unparalleled in consistency. But reality is more complicated. Statistics are rarely neutral. How we define and measure records can amplify certain narratives while downplaying others. In LeBron's case, the focus on the regular season streak magnifies his achievements, but it doesn't capture the full scope of his career, especially his performances in high-stakes playoff games. That it's also worth noting how LeBron himself interacts with these numbers. While he certainly appreciates milestones, he's a player who consistently emphasizes team success over individual accolades. The 8-point game in 2007 or the 6-point night against Indiana are not failures in his eyes. They are minor footnotes in a career defined by championships, leadership, and sustained excellence. Yet, Fans and media often read these streaks as emblematic of his greatness in a vacuum, divorced from the broader context. That's why the streak has gained more attention now than it did in the early years of his career. At the time, nobody tracked it obsessively, and nobody debated its significance. Only in hindsight, in the era of social media amplification and analytics obsession, did it take on this outsized symbolic value that in the end, the streak is impressive, no question. Maintaining a level of scoring consistency across hundreds of games is a remarkable achievement that speaks to LeBron's skill, durability, and basketball IQ. But it's not the definitive measure of greatness. Records like this are snapshots, not full portraits, and they should be appreciated for what they represent without oversimplifying the narrative. LeBron James is already among the all-time greats. His legacy doesn't need a cherry-picked stat to validate it. The streak is a fun fact, an impressive footnote, and a testament to his durability. But it is not the final word on who the greatest player of all time is. When viewed carefully, the numbers tell one story. When stripped of context, they tell another. Understanding both is what separates casual fan excitement from informed historical perspective. So yes, LeBron James holds the longest streak of regular season games scoring in double figures. But Michael Jordan remains a standard when considering every game he played, regular season and playoffs alike. The lesson here isn't just about who's better. It's about how context and framing shape our understanding of statistics and the narratives we build around them. Numbers are powerful, but only when interpreted fully. LeBron James' streak of consecutive games scoring in double figures is frequently cited as one of the most remarkable feats in NBA history. On the surface, it's impressive. Over a decade of games without failing to hit at least 10 points. But when you dig deeper, the story isn't as simple or as flawless as the viral graphics and hype clips would have you believe. For starters, let's put the streak in context. LeBron's last regular season game scoring fewer than 10 points was on January 5, 2007, against the Milwaukee Bucks, where he put up just 8 points. That's a long time ago, over 11 years and 867 games before the streak became a trending topic. The streak is often celebrated as historic and untouchable, yet 10 points is a remarkably low bar for a player of LeBron's caliber. A superstar scoring in double digits almost every night isn't nearly as difficult as some of the viral clips make it seem. The difficulty is minimal, yet the sheer volume of games is dressed up as dominance. The narrative surrounding it tends to amplify the achievement while ignoring nuance. And here's where the framing gets tricky. Most of the media and fan graphics presenting this streak skip over the details that complicate the story. They often fail to mention that it's strictly a regular season record, excluding playoff games entirely. That omission is not accidental, it's selective storytelling. Presenting it without this context makes it seem like LeBron has scored in double figures in every single NBA game of his career, including high-pressure playoff contests, which isn't the case. In reality, LeBron's streak has experienced a few notable breaks, and the breaks themselves are often overlooked. For example, the most infamous disruption came during Game 5 of the 2011 NBA Finals. LeBron scored just 8 points on the biggest stage imaginable. That was no typo or fluke. It happened during the Finals, the pinnacle of professional basketball. The streak also ended in Game 5 against the Indiana Pacers in 2014, where he finished with only 7 points. Add in the 8-point performance against Dallas, and suddenly there are 2 clear breaks within just 4 years. These aren't minor footnotes. They happen on major stages, yet they are rarely included in the mainstream discussion. Despite this, the messaging around LeBron's streak often leans on narratives about his supposed indifference to stats. Fans and commentators frequently repeat lines like, "LeBron is unselfish, he doesn't care about points," or "he's about winning, not numbers." While that sounds noble and team first, it doesn't match the reality if you actually watch him closely. Consider 2018, the year he surpassed Jordan's regular season streak. The game literally paused to celebrate that milestone. Fans, teammates, and commentators treated it as a historic achievement. That's hardly indifference. It's pride, acknowledgement, and awareness of how numbers can shape legacy. LeBron has always cared about stats that travel well online, numbers that feed the highlight reels, and records that become shareable milestones. The 10-point streak fits that pattern perfectly. Even more telling are recent games. In his last two outings against Phoenix and Toronto, LeBron was clearly aware of the streak's requirements. Against Phoenix, he scrambled to get the 10 points in the fourth quarter, opportunistically hitting a three-pointer. Against Toronto, the luck didn't align. 4 shots, no rhythm, finishing with 8 points. No spin, no excuses. This was a streak ending, plain and simple. The simplest and most honest way to frame this record is upfront. It's regular season only. Acknowledging that doesn't diminish the streak. It remains impressive, but it stops the misleading impression that it spans all games, playoffs included. Skipping that detail is not just hype. It's strategic, a deliberate choice to make the headline more dramatic. Networks and media outlets continue to run bold claims about the streak while quietly omitting these crucial details. When context is added, the story looks a lot less monumental. When we compare LeBron's streak to other streaks that truly test consistency and difficulty, the perspective shifts again. For example, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder recently ended a streak of 72 consecutive games, scoring 20 or more points, including postseason play. That streak currently ranks 7th all-time in NBA history, with names like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, and Wilt Chamberlain ahead of him. These are basketball legends, not cherry-picked milestones. SGA's streak include high-pressure games, full context, and consistently high performance night after night. By comparison, a streak of 10-point games, regular season only, is modest. James Harden also provides a notable comparison. In 2018, Harden scored 30-plus points in 32 straight games, a feat far more difficult than 10 points. 30 points require dominance, volume, efficiency, and consistency against top competition. It's not about scraping by, it's about producing at an elite level under pressure. LeBron's 10-point streak is impressive for longevity but does not carry the same competitive weight or difficulty. Then there's a narrative that frequently surrounds LeBron: make the right play. This slogan has been recycled for over a decade, portraying him as the ultimate team-first player. Pass instead of shoot, defer to a teammate, avoid flashy stats. The messaging is always about doing what's smart.